In this video, we will review the UpCodes code calculator. You will learn how the calculator is set up, the parts of a design that the calculator checks for compliance, and ways to input information into the calculator. You will also view how to work through all of the modules required to compute calculations, review the calculation summary, identify areas of non-compliance, and export the results to share with team members or incorporate into your drawing set. The UpCodes code calculator is a project-based tool. The building code book of the jurisdiction selected during the project setup acts as the basis for the calculator. Choosing the proper jurisdiction and code cycle before using the code calculator is essential. In some cases, local jurisdictional requirements may override the codes used to compute the calculations, so verifying all code calculation results to ensure full compliance with AHJ requirements is always recommended. For this example, we'll create a 6-story core and shell commercial project with retail, public space, office, and parking on the ground floor using the 2019 California Building Code as the base code. You are directed to the project homepage after you create a new project. The toolbar on the left lists project-specific tools including project inputs, code calculators, which is a page where you can view the code calculation summary, bookmarks, and settings. The code calculator module visible on the right displays the status of the calculations. The calculator checks for compliance in 4 categories or modules: heights and areas, egress, fire ratings, and plumbing. The small circle next to the categories indicates the status of the calculations. If the calculator has sufficient information to check for compliance, the empty circle will change to a green icon with a check mark. Click Project Inputs to begin inputting information into the calculator. The 4 modules the calculator checks for compliance appear under Project Inputs in the left toolbar. You can add project information in the code calculator fields visible in the center of the screen. The fields are grouped into categories. As you can see here, the Heights and Areas module includes building composition, general building information, building perimeter and site information, and construction. You can add as much or as little information as you want. Adding more information will increase the number of code requirement calculator results. You can now begin inputting information into the calculator. An added benefit of the UpCodes calculator is that inputs are saved in real time, and you do not need to worry about saving information if you need to pause working on the calculator. Multiple collaborators can also view and edit inputs in real time. The first set of inputs is in the Building Composition module. You can assign a height to the story in the field next to the level number. You can then add all the spaces in your design and choose the appropriate occupancy from the list that appears when you click the occupancy field. If you need help deciding which occupancy to select, scroll to the bottom of the list and click Occupancy Type Guide. The Occupancy Type Guide is a tool that helps you filter down the occupancies based on a series of questions. The suggested choices of occupancies begin to filter down as you respond to the questions in the pop-up window. The calculator will provide an occupancy recommendation when you've finished answering all the questions, and you can choose the recommended occupancy for your space or redo the questionnaire. After selecting the function of space, you can enter the GSF or the NSF of the space if the code allows you to do so. If you choose not to select the function of space, you can enter both types of square footages in the calculator. Entering the function of space allows the calculator to use the appropriate occupant load factor to calculate the total occupant load. You can reorder spaces by hovering over the line and clicking and dragging the dots next to the name to the desired location. You can delete a space by clicking the X icon on the right. You can also assign a space to be an accessory or mezzanine space based on your design by checking the box next to these options. The space is then attached to the one above it in the list. To detach it, uncheck the box. To compute egress requirements, enter identifying information for corridors, stairways, and exits. You can then connect each space to one or more of these components. clicking Repeat Story allows you to create multiple flows that use the same design information. You can then type in the number of times you want to repeat the story. To remove a repetition, click Remove Repeat Stories, and to delete the flow entirely, click Remove Story. You can add a new level between existing levels by scrolling to the toolbar between the levels and clicking Add Story. The newly created level will be empty, and you will need to input design information as you have done previously for the other levels. You can move levels in the project by clicking and dragging the dots next to the level name to the desired spot. You can add below grade levels by clicking the Add Below Grade Story link directly beneath the Level 1 Building Composition module. Clicking Add Horizontal Building Separation will create a separation between the levels. You can then choose the appropriate code provision, the type of construction, and the sprinkler system for the portion of the building above and below the separation. Grayed out options in the drop-down list are non-compliant conditions and cannot be selected. If you need help deciding which construction type to choose for your design, scroll down the drop-down list and click Construction Type Guide. A pop-up window will appear, allowing you to adjust parameters to determine what type of construction will comply with the building code. You can adjust parameters affecting the allowable construction type at the top of the window. You can modify design parameters using the sliders available under each column. Non-compliant conditions are flagged and highlighted. Changes you made to the number of stories, building height, or total building area will not be reflected in the calculator inputs on the previous page. Once you've selected a compliant condition, note the values and adjust your inputs to meet the criteria. Continue to add design information in the remainder of the modules, such as general building information, building perimeter and site information, building uses, building features, and construction. To run a quick preliminary code calculation, click Save and View Requirements, or Next Module to move on. Upon clicking Next Module, you will notice that Egress is now highlighted in the left toolbar, indicating that answering any new questions in the code calculator will allow it to check for compliance with egress requirements. Scroll up the calculator, review and answer any new or unanswered questions, and once completed, click Next Module to move into fire rating questions, followed by plumbing questions. After reviewing and inputting information into the four modules, click Save and View Requirements to view the code analysis results. Results are displayed in the same order as the calculator inputs, starting with building data, heights and areas, egress, fire ratings, and plumbing. If UpCodes has sufficient information to run a full check for compliance for a particular module, it will show a green icon with a check mark next to it. UpCodes highlights non-compliant conditions and provides links to edit inputs and verify calculations on the code summary page. Click Edit Inputs to be redirected to the Inputs page. Click See Calculation to view a detailed step-by-step breakdown of the code calculation. Hyperlinked sections direct you to the codes used for the analysis. The detailed view also shows compliant conditions and flags non-compliant ones. As a reference, the parameters required for compliance are also visible alongside the non-compliant conditions. You can export or print this analysis by clicking on the printer icon on the top right of the window and selecting your printer in the dialog box that appears. If you notice errors or want to provide feedback, click the Give Feedback button on the bottom right of the window. Scroll down the page to view calculator results and check for compliant and non-compliant conditions under all four modules. To share the code calculator results with others or download and include them in your project drawing set, scroll to the top of the page and click Download Code Sheet to export the page as a PDF or an Excel file. The PDF can be linked into AutoCAD, Revit, or any other drawing or modeling software you use if the software supports it. You can use the content in the Excel file to format the summary in any way you like. Note that fields are not updated when you change cell values since the data is non-calculated and not linked to UpCodes. If you want to update your inputs and rerun the calculations, you can do so in UpCodes.